Alright, now this camera came out March 3rd, 2016, which sounds like a long time ago, but let me tell you what else came out in 2016 to help paint that picture for you. Captain America Civil War, Batman vs Superman, Doctor Strange, and for all my non-Marvel DC superhero nerds out there, The Founder with Michael Keaton. If you haven't seen the movie, you should definitely check it out. It's definitely an amazing movie. This camera is a little old, so why did I get it in 2023, 7 years later? The first reason is I refuse to let these Fujifilm X100V resellers dick down my wallet with 200% markups. It's ridiculous. I'm not paying it. I'm not paying $2,000+ for an X100V, which is actually a blessing because I've never really been blown away by the images from the X100V, and I think it really comes down to the fixed lens that's on there. It lacks character in my opinion, and I'm not really the biggest 35mm shooter. I do enjoy 35mm. This is actually being filmed at 35mm. I think it's a great focal length for like real life representation of your eyeballs, but I much rather prefer 50mm. It's a little tighter, like the little bit of compression you get. But yeah, I'm more of a 50mm shooter versus a 35mm shooter, so the images from the X100V don't blow my mind. Second reason, I actually owned the X Pro 3 before the X Pro 2 and quickly returned it because I didn't feel like it was justified in its cost, being the 3 to 4 year old camera and being marginally better than the predecessor, you know, with like 2 megapixels more in resolution and a couple more recipes. It just didn't feel like it was worth the price tag. And in some cases, it actually was a step back. After having my hands on both of them, I think the X Pro 2 has better build quality, and I actually prefer the back screen being just a normal back screen and not the flippy down one. I mean, if the flippy down is cool, its touchscreen is nice, but I'd rather it just be a fixed monitor on the back. And also, I like having the D-pad. The D-pad is nice. I'd rather have a D-pad over a touchscreen, in my opinion. So I think the X Pro 2 is just the better camera. After buying the X Pro 3 for about $2,000 before tax, and then turn around and buying another lens for another $500-600, I felt robbed. I mean, considering that it was only meant to be my fun camera, it was just too much money. I paid that same amount of money for my A7 IV, and I can actually justify that cost because it makes me money. So I went to OfferUp and found a few really good deals that I felt were worth it. Now for the third reason, I needed a fun camera that I could travel with, you know, pass to my wife and she can use it, and it was, you know, simple enough and not too complicated. Something that would get out of the way of the creative process and didn't feel too serious. A lot of times when I take photos, it's for paid gigs and it just feels clinical, serious. There's a clear goal in mind. I like the ability to just walk around and take normal pictures of everyday life without any expectations. And the fourth reason is the cost of film. It's crazy right now, and it's crazy to get it developed as well, and I don't have the time nor patience to develop myself. So yeah, I'm kind of bowing out of the film game a little bit. I'm still gonna take pictures here and there, but before the X Pro 2, I was getting my photo fix from shooting on my Olympus On1 and my Bronica Zenza ETR. These are both really great film cameras. This is, you know, 35mm, this is medium format, 120mm, but I can't be paying to get these photos developed all the time. And while the X Pro 2 can't replace the look of film, I mean, it's a semi-close second, maybe a close third. I don't know what would be over this, maybe vintage glass, but it doesn't look like film all the way, but it's a good alternative. And the savings makes up for that gap, in my opinion. Now, I will continue to shoot film from time to time, but probably not as often as I was last summer. Some of my favorite photos were taken on film, and I think I will reserve that medium for special occasions versus everyday photography. I was burning through rolls and I was probably doing the most, but in this culture of, like, you know, social media photography, and if you're into it, you're always in search of that banger, quote unquote. And I don't know, I was just burning through rolls. And getting them developed is expensive. I actually just dropped off, 3, 4, 5 rolls or whatever, and it cost $70 to develop them. And of course, each roll probably cost another $20+ depending on the film stock. It's an expensive hobby shooting with film, and the X Pro 2 is going to save me money in the long run. Now, I've been loving how easygoing the JPEG life is, and has been made possible by the Fujifilm recipes and the community that creates them. The Fujifilm community is dope. I found a few Facebook groups and follow a few accounts on Instagram that share great recipes and inspiring work. I feel like the Fujifilm community is probably one of the last communities that just likes photography and that's not searching for the banger photo, or you know, it's just like people that just take pictures, and it's refreshing. And I found myself reaching for this camera more often than not, and I honestly take it everywhere. And this is definitely the itch that needed to be scratched, and I think this is the reason, or the main reason, why there's been this Fuji renaissance recently. And these cameras are, you know, being sold out and discontinued and marked up, and people are going crazy trying to get these cameras. And these recipes give me several looks that I can cycle through on the fly. And that flexibility and creative freedom really made me fall back in love with just taking pictures and taking like simple everyday photos of my family and just my environment. Now, I'm not crazy, right? I do shoot JPEG plus fine RAW just in case I want to sit down and enjoy a nice edit, but the JPEG images are pretty much 9 for 10. Like, they're dope enough most of the time. So here are the recipes that I currently have loaded up, but I'm probably going to change a few of these out because I got some more recommendations on Twitter. Kodachrome, Try X400, which is my black and white preset, Ektar 100, which is probably one of my favorite film stocks, Portra 160, Kodak Gold 200, Nostalgic, and Bright Kodak. But my go-to has honestly been the Nostalgic recipe. I'm pretty much pleased with it in every lighting condition, and it works well with my family skin tones, like light brown, dark browns. I just like the way it looks on me and my family, and I like it in every shooting scenario. Overcast, direct sunlight, golden hour, blue hour, it just looks nice. I also had the pleasure of capturing some candid moments of my family a couple weeks ago for my little brother's wedding, and these were raw photos that I edited later in Lightroom, but I really like them. Now, I've been really impressed with the quality of images that I'm able to capture with this camera, coming from, you know, professional full frame mirrorless cameras with high resolution sensors and high-end, you know, lenses. I had pretty low expectations for this Fuji kit, and I was pleasantly surprised. I would say that the main reason I love the images is not really because of the body, it's really because of the 35mm 1.4 lens that I got to pair with the X-Pro 2. This lens isn't the quietest, but it is sharp and it still provides a great amount of character. It gives my pictures a soul and gives me a trace of that film feeling without paying film money. Now, writing the script for this video, I honestly was trying to figure out some cons to add because no camera's perfect. I mean, this one definitely isn't. But for what it is and why I bought it, the X-Pro 2 checks all of my boxes for now. And I have my A7 IV and my FX6 for pro level video and pro photos if, you know, I want to get away from the family stuff. But for the family stuff and just a good everyday camera, the X-Pro 2 is it for me, honestly. And this isn't a comparison video between the X-Pro 2 and X-Pro 3, but if I'm being honest, if you can find an X-Pro 2 for a really good price, like I got mine for around about 750, so I think 780 bucks. If you can find it for cheap, an X-Pro 2 for cheap, get the X-Pro 2. Don't spend anywhere near retail for the X-Pro 3 because the differences are negligible in my opinion, and I think the X-Pro 2 is just a better build quality and it's just a better camera for the money. But this camera has got me liking taking photos again, so much so that I actually made another IG account dedicated solely to film and photos from the X-Pro 2. And feel free to follow me over there. I'll leave the links down below in the description. I'll put it on screen, but it's at Spruce and Grain. But if you guys like this content, you want to see much more like it, if you guys like Fujifilm content, let me know down below in the description. I'm not too sure how many of you guys are out there that, you know, want to talk about Fujifilm and recipes and cameras, but let me know. I can make some more videos about it. But it's been a pleasure as usual. Until next time, guys, stay fresh. Peace.